Why is it so hard to change? And now that I know it's hard, what can I do about it? I'm super excited. This is a question that's coming in from lots of different people, from lots of different places that I teach and that I hold instruction on. So I wanted to share it here with you. So, when we're thinking about change and when we're considering how to change, I want to bring you a really big picture of what's actually taking place. And I think this big picture allows us to come out of our own preconceived notions about things and actually make space for the vastness of what's unfolding in front of us when we're engaging with other people, when we're witnessing situations that we don't necessarily agree with or that are contrary to our values and beliefs, or we know we ourselves have to do and make some changes, but we're just not sure how. So, perfect question, and let's dive in. But first of all, my name is Salimah, yoga therapist, and I've been hanging out on YouTube with all of you for a really long time. If you're looking for Kundalini Yoga Practices, we're going to do that today. So hang on till the end. We'll actually do a meditation called Breaking the Mask. Really interesting. All right, so let's dive in. First of all, take a deep inhale, bring your hands up like this, and bring your thumbs under your baby fingers. We're just going to do a few deep breaths to prepare for this conversation because it's quite vast. Hold your fingers around your thumb, take a deep inhale, and squeeze your thumbs as hard as you possibly can, and hold the breath. And now through the mouth, powerfully let it go. Exhale. Awesome. 2 more times. Squeeze your thumbs. Inhale, squeeze, tense, and hold. Tense, tense, tense. Hold, hold, hold. And exhale, let it go. Exhale. And then one more time, we're going to squeeze, tense, and hold. You can squeeze all the muscles of your body if that's what you're tempted to do. That's totally fine. Holding the breath at the same time. And when you can't hold the breath anymore, exhale powerfully through the mouth, let it go. Awesome. Wiggle your fingers. And with that small, short amount of tension and retention of the breath, and when we let it go, I hope and I wonder if you felt a little bit of rising, a little energy shift. And that's exactly what we're going for. Because we're going to have a conversation about soul and karma and our nervous system and see where we can take it. And it requires your full attention. So thank you for doing that with me. So let's start in the very beginning. As a drop of the divine, you decided, I'm coming to have a human experience. I want to have a body. I want to have relationships. I want to experience the weather and changing conditions and all that it's like to be human. I want that. That's number one. You chose to be here. All of us chose to be here. If we're here, we chose it. And that's a very profound statement because not only did you choose to come, but you also chose your caregivers, your immediate environment that you were going to be born into, your race, your gender, your orientation, your location on the planet. You chose all of that. And that's like the cosmic joke. Why did I do that? And the reason for that is you chose these circumstances, because it was going to give you the best foundation for your learning. And we know as humans that sometimes our learning comes very easily, very gracefully. Somebody teaches us something and we get it and we move on. And then other times we learn lessons through the hardship of something happening in absence. So, how do we learn unconditional love? Oftentimes by situations that are not loving. How do we learn patience? In the times that we were not patient. So, there's a contrast to this human experience that is part of what we came to experience. We came for the contrast because that's where we were going to do all of our learning. Isn't that profound? So, that's the first piece. We decided to come. Second part is that this is not your first rodeo. This is not your first life. You've had millions and millions and millions before you arrived in this moment. And over the course of those millions of lifetimes, I'm drawing on the teachings of the Sikh faith to distill this information, 8.6 million lifetimes. As you go through those lifetimes, you accumulate experiences along the way. People that you interacted with, businesses that you had, children that you had, grandchildren that you had, you name it, you've experienced it probably on some other level, in some other point in your lifetimes, your personal legacy. And in that, you learned. And in that, you also made agreements with people along the way who would later show up to teach you about unconditional love, about patience, about growth and understanding and compassion and empathy and all these things. Because we as humans, we are not just individual and isolated, but rather we are designed, physically designed, to have a collaborative human experience. In other words, there are actually things in our body that make us relate to the rest of the world. We have ears to hear people's voices. We have nerve endings in our fingers so that we can touch and hold, oftentimes other people. We have neurons in our eyes that mirror what other people are thinking and feeling. And that's part of being human. It's a collaborative experience. And so over the course of the time that you have been human and have been interacting in this world, you've been accumulating experiences. And those experiences, each one of those experiences is to help you learn and to grow. Because when you made that decision to come, you decided, you knew actually that this was fully for learning. It wasn't going to be good or bad or anything. It was just for the learning itself. And then as you're born, you look around and your family shapes you with their values and the culture that you grow up in. You get taught what is acceptable behavior, what's not acceptable behavior. Your ideas as a free-spirited human start to become a little more narrow. In other words, here's the good stuff, here's okay, and this is not okay. This is what it means to be a good girl, good boy, and something in between. And this is what it means to not be that. And a lot of social pressure to make sure that we conform. And what we all know is that good girls don't change the world. And so we spend the next sections and portions of our life actually going into spaces where we have to challenge our notions of what's good and what's bad and come up with our own versions and give expression to the soul self that's living within us, the soul self that is using this human experience to learn and to grow. Okay. So these are really important concepts. They are yogic philosophy. This is how we understand cause and effect, also known as karma. And karma is setting up the circumstances of our life experiences. Let's go back to that place where you made agreements with people to show up to teach them certain things. They made agreements to show up to teach you certain things. And part of that is this idea of karma. Karma is an opportunity to understand a very big picture and also to understand how to relate to the present moment. Sometimes so these are karmic bonds. Sometimes we think about them as trauma bonds. Sometimes we think about them as attachment wounds, but they're all pretty much the same. Something has stirred inside of us to make us wake up. The language of psychology uses certain kind of vocabulary and the language of spirituality uses another form, but my friends, this is very similar. It's all the same. How do I wake up? How do I use my consciousness to grow? How do I learn? And how will I take my learning forward so that it becomes embodied and part of how I want to live my life? And so here's a couple of things to consider. Karma means actions in the sacred language of Sanskrit. And it is the decisions we make and the consequences that are the result of that decision. Karma is not good or bad. Karma doesn't happen immediately necessarily. It takes time for it to unfold. And they are an accumulation of impressions. These impressions, we refer to, as yogis, we refer to this as samskaras. Samskaras are impressions. This is the relationship I had many, many lifetimes ago, and it left an impression about how love is supposed to feel. Or this is the business transaction or the business I owned with somebody way, way, way back in my personal lineage. And this is what I learned. And we hold those impressions. We hold them in our energy field, so the energy around us. We hold it in our psychic field, how we show up, and we hold it in our physical field, maybe the health conditions we have or the state of our bodies. And these conditions have times where they lie dormant and they have times where they sprout. So you can think of karma, samskaras, almost like seeds. They are seeds that help things to grow. And when the conditions are ripe, these samskaras, they start to seed. And you'll see that in situations around you where you get tested, where you feel like you're in conflict with somebody, where there's a recurring pattern. Sometimes the pattern is with another person. Sometimes you are the recurring pattern. As soon as you start to sense, oh, I've seen this before, I've done this before, you can have some kind of assurance that, oh, there's a karmic something going on here, and there's a way through it. Okay, so when we practice Kundalini yoga, meditation, and breath work, what we're doing is accelerating the growth of the seeds of karma. In other words, we're consciously making a decision to move things along faster than had we done nothing. And that means a lot of stuff will start coming up. This is the healing journey. Sometimes we'll experience multiple things going on at the same time: a money challenge, a conflict in a relationship, and a health thing, all of them coming to bear fruit at the same time. This you can consider to be like a ripening. And in that ripening, we have opportunities to use our practice in order to soothe out the karma, the seeds that have been placed a long time ago, so that we can come to resolution quicker. And so that acceleration is why I always say to people, please just do one practice at a time. Don't do multiple things every single day, because that fast forward process can sometimes get overwhelming. Okay, side note. So here's how to think about it. When we use asana, movement in a yoga practice, pranayam, breathing, and meditation, self-reflection, self-awareness, we start to remove the karmic residue. We start to fast forward these things. When we are engaged in pranayam, we are moving energy, karmic energy from our energy field. So when you're breathing, you start to move energy out of our energetic field. When we're meditating, we're moving it out of our psychic field. When we are moving asana, we are moving it out of our physical field. So that's where yoga and meditation come in really handy as we're traversing through life, and why many times as we come through a healing journey, sometimes yoga finds us and sometimes we go looking, but that's generally why it's popping up. And through humanity, these practices have been in place because it loosens the conditions that we were born with. It loosens these impressions that we have picked up along the way. And those impressions show up as as behaviors, as blocks to our thinking. And we want to create a little bit more space so that we can express more fully, that we can be compassionate to where other people are, and we can live in a way that is a little more accepting of who and what is taking place in our lives. Because remember, as you and I go through our karma, so is everybody else. And we're not always privileged to know what that karma is. I don't know exactly what my karma is. I can have a sense or an intuition about it, but I have to also let the mystery of life unfold. And so do you, and so do we all. But we can also remember that as everybody's walking through their karmic experience, as they're walking through this human experience, everybody has an objective to learn. Now, remember that that learning is free spirited. In other words, no judgment. However way I need to learn, I want to learn. But the personality has ideas about what's right and what's wrong. And where did that come from? Our social conditioning, what our families thought, what society thinks. And oftentimes, what's good for the soul, what the soul wants to learn, personality starts to get into conflict. Yes, I want to learn, but death, divorce, disease, that stuff sucks. I don't want to do that at all. And we start to resist. We start to push. We start to get really attached to the way that it should be, or really push against how things should not be. And that's what creates suffering. This is part of a lot of different world traditions and spiritual ideas, is that suffering comes from attachment. I really want that thing, or aversion. I really don't want that thing. And that's where the suffering comes from. And so as we go through our life experience, the more we can remind ourselves, okay, this is a process where I'm learning. What is it that the universe wants me to learn? So that's tip number one, is to start asking yourself really good questions about what is this experience? Not why is this happening to me? This sucks. Why don't I just banish that person from my queendom? But rather, this is a time to resolve unfinished business. And that's really what karma is, unfinished business. Not good, not bad, just unfinished. And so, number one is that we want to put ourselves in a place of being open to resolving unfinished business. Just like you might have a to-do list that starts off in the beginning of your day, and part of your objective is to finish that to-do list. I need to finish this project. I need to write that email. I need to send that text message, go to the doctor, make dinner, go to sleep. That's a to-do list. And that's kind of what karma is. It is a section of unresolved business that needs to get completed. That's number one. Number two is to start thinking about what you are attached to, where the suffering is coming from, and start to let go. Why am I invested in being right in this situation? Why do I need to insist on my way? What is that stuff about? And to do some personal inquiry around, how does that show up for me? And is it helpful? And is it working? Or is it causing more suffering and more tension and blocking my learning? And then finally is to stop resisting what we're afraid of. Oftentimes we want to control situations because we're afraid of the outcome. If I just quit this job, if I just leave this relationship, if I just eat this chocolate bar, what's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? What is it that I could learn? Where might it take me? Will it be tough? For sure. Every time you turn over a new leaf, every time you try something new, there's some resistance to that change. Even though it's required on a soul level, it's required. Personality wants to ground down and make it all stop. Now, let's link it back to the nervous system, because these are interesting conversations, and this is definitely yogic philosophy in terms of how the world works. I want to ground it in some science for you, because we need that too. When we're born, we inherit legacies. We inherit genetic legacies, our health, the shape of our bodies, how we look, our temperament, sometimes, oftentimes. And then there's our natural inclinations. Some of us are born a little bit rigid. We need rules, we need structure, we need things to go a certain way. And some of us a little more soft. We are going with the flow, we are allowing, we are okay. And then our immediate environments either accentuate one thing or the other, or they start to mitigate. Okay, so either make things a little more heightened, or they temper that temperament that we were born with. And so this experience of life gets coded into our nervous system. When things feel out of control, this is what I do. When I want to achieve something, this is what I do. When something triggers me, this is what I do. When something feels good, this is what I do. And that all comes from the body itself. We can make 20% of decisions come from here, the mind. 80% comes from the body. Either the body being on board with, yeah, that change, or not wanting that change at all and feeling a stuckness. And so here we start to understand that if we can work with our bodies to create change, then we have much more possibility of success. And again, this is where yoga, meditation, and breath work come in really handy, because those are ways of working with the nervous system in order to loosen the conditioning, the physiological and psychological pathways that have been developed and embedded over time now start to get a little bit of respite, now start to get a little bit of relief, and we can start to feel things open and expand, because we are repatterning the brain through movement, repatterning our thinking process through breath work and through meditation, creating new grooves, new ways to approach things, new insights, new availability. And all of that comes together. It's this, the ending place is the same. How can I create change? Number one is that I have to be aware and know that life is constantly changing. The weather's changing every day. Every hour, the sunlight is different. There is change. It's almost cliche. The only thing constant is change. And so remembering that, okay, this is about learning and everything is changing. And so I have a choice point. Either I resist and I dig my nails in and I get resistant and I make it last longer, or I figure out that there's a flow happening, and can I step into that flow instead of being the resistance? Can I flow with this? Can I ask good questions? Can I open myself to the learning rather than insist on my way? Now, you can insist on your way if it's working. If it's not working and you keep coming up against a wall, that's a little clue. If you keep seeing the same patterns come over and over and over again, guess what? That is part of something that's keeping us stuck. And so the idea is to step back, step into a meditation process, into a breath work, into movement, and allow that change to take place. And then finally, step into what we're afraid of. Okay, what's the worst that can happen? And could I potentially take care of that? Probably yes. I want to say one more thing about karma here, and that is that there is past karma, things that are developing over time and have developed over time. There's the current karma of a situation, that is the seeds that are ripening, the circumstances that you're seeing in your immediate vicinity and in your lifetime. And then there's the future karma. So I want to remind you that you have the power to influence what's happening in your future days, and that all is open to you. You have many, many choice points. Number one is how you relate to all of this. And I think that's where we have, all of us, a lot more power than we actually give ourselves credit for, because the future echoes the past. And if you want your future to look a little bit differently, the time to take action is now. The time to explore and to create liberation is now, so that you can capitalize on all the lessons and all the learning and have that life experience of growth and learning. Okay, that was a lot to take in. Thank you so much for being here and present in the conversation. I want to guide you through a meditation now called Breaking the Mask. I love this meditation. It sounds like what it is. We're just going to break through some of the barriers. And in this meditation, we're going to use breath work, a mantra, and a mudra. And so I'm going to show you all of those little steps, and we're going to do that together. It's going to take about 5-6 minutes, but you came here for this. So let's do it. First things first, find yourself comfortable. Either you're taking a seat on the ground or you're sitting comfortable in a chair or on the sofa or in your bed, wherever you feel comfortable sitting, that's where you want to be. Now, if you happen to be watching this while you're driving, just press pause here and come back to it when you can focus and concentrate. Take a few long, deep breaths. And as you do this, relax the area around your abdominal muscles. Feel the part of you that's sitting closest to the ground. And call in your awareness. All the parts of you that may have been scattered out into the universe, taking in that early part of our conversation, call it all in. Be here now. Two more breaths. Inhale. Take in your vastness and exhale. And bring yourself to here, this present moment. Beautiful. The mantra, I'm going to explain that to you first. It's Haraji, Hara, 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 Ji. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. And this mantra means I'm calling on the energy of creation. So here I am with my sound and with my voice, using a sacred sound in the language of Gurmukhi to pull an experience. And that experience is creative energy, really beautiful and very simple. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. And there are going to be points where I'm going to pronounce that for you and chant it for you, and times where you're going to be doing it with me. So that's first things first. The second part is the mudra. So here, this is called a Lotus Mudra. I'm going to bring the baby fingers together, pinky fingers together, the thumb tips together, and then plant the base of the palms together. So you can see here that I've created a flower. You are creating a flower, a blossoming, if you will. And we're going to hold this blossoming flower here, just around the level of your heart. Your eyes are a little bit closed. And for the first minute, I'm going to be chanting, and we're going to do a little bit of breath work here. We're going to inhale for the lungs to be 1/3 full. So it's a shallow inhale. And then we're going to inhale again. And then filling up the last third of the lungs. Okay, so 3 breaths, and each breath takes us to fuller and fuller lung capacity. So 1/3, and then another third, and then the full third. Okay, so here, close your eyes, focus at the tip of your nose. And just take a few breaths here, feeling the mudra. I can feel some heat in between my fingers. Maybe your experience is similar, maybe something's different. Okay, inhale very deeply. Hold now. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. One more round. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Inhale some more. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. One more. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Excellent. Now breathe through your full lung capacity and hold the breath. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Fill up all the way. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Excellent. Release the breath. Good. Now we're going to chant out loud together 3 times. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Last one. Haraji, Hara, 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 Haraji. Inhale deeply. And exhale. And for the this last segment, we're going to go back to that timed breathing. So inhale for 1/3 of your full capacity. Inhale, hold the breath, and I'll chant. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Good. Inhale a little bit more. 2/3 now. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Good. One more time. Inhale very deeply, full lung capacity. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Haraji, hara 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 haraji. Inhale very deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale. Exhale. One more time, press your palms together at the center of your chest. Inhale. Sit with a spine of steel and a heart of gold. Drop the illusion, drop the pretense, drop anything that isn't your true self. Beautiful. Bring your fingertips to your forehead, grounding yourself here and relaxing into this conversation. Listen to it a few times. There's a lot of learning here. It's really important to know that it's not just about you and me right here, right now, although that is a big factor. It's also the legacy that we bring with us and the choices that we make along the way. Lots of love to you. Remember that change is constant. If you're looking for more ways to work together, check out the link in the bio here. Link on my page. There's numerology, there's harmony within, the new course that I'm teaching, and of course, yoga teacher training. Lots of love. Until next time, my name is Salimah, yoga therapist. And if you found this helpful, share it, like it, and subscribe. Bye for now.